Good afternoon, and welcome back to another edition of Smoke and Mirrors presented by the Sports Hit List. I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside, there you go, Declan Krogman and Greg Polius. I was on hiatus on Monday, you guys saw and know. Needed a mental health break, but the fellas held it down. I got to witness it, so thank you for that. But how you doing? How's your week been, Greg? How has your week been, sir?
My week was a little stressful at work, man. I'm happy to be here, really.
That whole mug, is that water?
It's seltzer water, actually.
Okay.
I just needed I needed the biggest mug I could find, so just to hold me down for the whole show.
Spike seltzer water? I mean,
I wish it's not. I wish.
Hard seltzer. Deck, what about you? You're looking extra cozy up there, bro.
yeah, man, it's freaking cold all of a sudden. I guess on par to what Western New York fall looks like.
Yeah.
But yeah, good, man, and good week. Midterms are out of the way. We had a nice little break. Feeling nice and refreshed, excited, ready.
Congrats on that. It's always weight off anyone's shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good to do good on in-person midterms after being online for like a year and a half. So it's good to get back. But happy to have you back.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be back. And as always, there's a lot to talk about. And I like that. I like when we come into our episodes and it's just like, boom, there's so much sports to cover. And I mean, usually not in an hour, but we try to do our best to keep it an hour. We'll try to do the same this week, but this Friday, I should say. I want to start with the MLB, the playoffs. All right. I wasn't on Monday to talk about the Astros, but I called Astros in 4, right? And
I told you that was wild.
It was a bold move, and it looked good after game 1. All right. But the series hasn't really played out that way since then.
And great series.
It's been a great series, though. Yes, I mean, for a team in Boston that I didn't really expect to hit the way they have, they've hit very well. I mean, the last few games have been great for them. Game 2 was phenomenal for the Red Sox. It's absolute slugfest, right? 12-3 was the finisher there, and I think that was on Monday night, before you guys were able to go on. But games 3 and 4 to me. I'm sorry. Yes, no, it's games 4 and 5 rather. Have been really good. Like the Astros that I expected showed up to me in those 2 series. And I was happy to see a bounce back from Valdez, who is someone that didn't do well early in the series, but had a sparkling 8 innings, 1 hit, 3-hit ball, 1 earned run, 7 Ks. I'm sorry, 5 Ks. But the series, like you said, Deck, has been good. It's been back and forth. I'm curious to know, though, and Deck, I'll start with you. What do you think? Who do you think has been like a major contributor to this series on both sides, for both the Red Sox and for the Astros? Because you've had some significant impacts from players throughout this series.
Yeah, so I think first of all, this series really, got turned on its head in the 9th inning when Nate Eovaldi threw that. It was a high slider, but it was right on the corner.
Yeah,
and it didn't get called, and that led to literally a 6-run 9th inning, which is nuts. So game 4 really could have gone to Boston, and we could have seen that series go up 3-1 in Boston's favor. Instead, it went 2-2, and then obviously we know how Valdez's outing went: 8 innings, 1 run, and it came in the 8th inning, and just a dominant outing for him.
A home run from Devers that didn't really move
exactly.
the needle. Yeah.
I mean, Devers has been hitting homers off lefties the whole postseason, so that's just really just something you'd expect from him at this point. But my impact players in this series so far for Boston, I'm gonna give 2, if that's okay. The 2 hitters that I think have really came alive, both first-year players on Boston. One guy really half a season on Boston was Kyle Schwarber at the deadline. This guy just hits home runs and he mashes. If he doesn't have a grand slam in a route that the Boston Red Sox are a part of, and then they probably don't have a route. That's really just how it is. He's a big guy who hits leadoff for them, has really been, or leadoff most times. The other guy who's another leadoff hitter is, of course, Kike Hernandez. Another guy who, if he doesn't hit a ball over the monster or into even in Tropicana, he pulls that ball down the left, not down the left field line, but really just a straightaway left field, about 8 rows deep. into left field. The way he hits the ball and the way he's been their spark plug guy over the course of the series has kept them in this series. For Houston, I wanted to shout out Jason Castro. I mean, this is a guy who's a backup catcher, gets the game-winning hit or go-ahead hit, in the ninth inning on that same at bat where he could have been punched out on 3 strikes. He took advantage of it and he hit a single, the go-ahead single into right center. So he was my guy really because that's the play right there. And I'll allude to another play that turned the series completely shifted the whole series in the NLCS. I'll reference a player and a play for the Dodgers there. But for the Astros in this ALCS, that play right there really turned the tides. And I mean, listen, like I said, they could have went down 3-1 and instead they wound up winning that game, exploding in the ninth for 6 runs. Well, like we know they can as Yankee fans, like we've seen they can just this season. So it was really good to see Castro get back on the board. And like I said, he's a backup catcher.
Greg, what about you? Who are your impact players for this series so far?
For the Astros or the Red Sox, or just it doesn't
matter?
Both.
We're doing both.
Okay. So
because this series is very close. I mean, there have been impact players both sides.
I actually don't think this series is that close. I actually think this series is over.
But it has been close.
It has been close. Even though if it's over, it's so for what it was, it has become now.
I do think that I mean, the word I used last time when we were going over before series, I said the Red Sox, it was going to be cute. They're going to get 2 games, and that's exactly what they did. Meanwhile, they smoked
in a cute way though.
They smoked them. So on the Red Sox, even though JD hit those 2 grand slams in back-to-back innings, that's dope. I got to give it to Kike Hernandez. That he just gets up for big games. I don't care if this guy hits 100 in a regular season. He has that it factor that he just turns it on another level. And as a ball player, you can always admire when someone knows how to turn it on to another level when the stakes are at the highest. For the Astros, I'm gonna go with Jose Altuve because that home run. First of all, I called it because once again, pitch selection matters, and you can't tell me him not being 0 for 12. He was not sitting on a middle in fastball, and that's exactly what he got. It was more middle, but I probably would have started him off with something with a little bend, just to make him uncomfortable. I'm not a guy that's 0 for 12 is looking to be aggressive.
Yeah.
I also don't know if the pitcher had that information. I feel like it's information he should have had, given all the.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
You are aggressive. Even a guy in a slump going back to Little League.
Exactly.
If you haven't hit, you are looking for a first pitch
fastball. Let me jump on, especially with the Green Monster, where it's like 295 feet away.
So
I think
many
it's
home
like
runs
310. It's crazy.
I mean, on a good day, maybe. But I definitely think that was the turning point in this series because you could kind of feel the sails getting sucked out of Boston in
wind getting sucked out of the sails. Yeah.
You know what I meant. Thank you for correcting me.
So it's just for everybody at home, so they know.
And then after that, you had the Evaldi pitch that Declan referenced, which was just like the icing on a cake. Like to me, that was it. And then they're going back to Houston. I don't see Boston pulling this out.
So that's why you're saying it's over because they're in Houston. I wasn't sure.
It was in Houston. And it was the way they lost.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I just want to understand.
There's bad ways. There's worse ways to lose, especially when you feel like you were robbed by an umpire. Like JD Martinez had to be restrained by the third base coach and Alex Cora.
I mean, honestly, I don't think that pitch was that egregious of a miss as some of the ones.
I agree.
Previous.
There were worse.
Was it that same night? How many missed calls did he have?
22 and 21. It was really bad.
It was 21. Yeah.
And the umpiring this postseason has been awful. And
we talked about it on Friday, though.
Yeah.
As far as the umpiring and how it just needs to be better, there needs to be a higher standard for playoff, just postseason baseball.
I mean, just for professionals. Baseball in general.
I mean, if we're setting a low bar right now, at least for the postseason, you should have a higher standard than your regular season when you're talking about the guys that are going to be calling the biggest game, the biggest plays for the biggest games.
Because to be honest, Christian Vasquez, shout out to him. He framed some balls that weren't even close. And you saw some Astro hitters. Yeah, some Astro hitters like give me a chance here. There was a ball, I forgot, I think it might have been to Correa. It was a first pitch like slider that clearly was in the lefty batter's box, but he made it look good and he called it a strike. I'm just like, if in our men's league, that would have pissed me off. So I could only imagine what happens at the pro level when a call like that gets made.
Well, we've seen guys in men's league get a strike in the other batter's box and snap their bat and go viral.
Yeah, a lot of people watch
He
ESPN
drew
have seen
a
that
line!
same one. Freaking Cuoco.
They spliced that video together great because that was 2 separate ABs.
Yeah.
It does look really good because I didn't know that until you told me it. When I first saw it, I was like,
I
wow,
actually,
that's the same
I
as
remember posting it thinking it was hilarious, and then finding out a week later it was you.
For those of you that don't know what's happening, there's this viral video from like 5 years ago of me pitching. Oh, it's made it to ESPN. It made it to Highly Questionable.
Yeah.
And I threw a cutter, and it's not even close. But the catcher makes it look even worse by just like he just catches it out here, and the umpire calls a strike. But then they cut to another clip where I struck this dude out early in the game with runners on second and third, and he broke his bat. So it makes it look like he broke his bat because of that egregious call.
Well,
he also yelled.
You're missing Cuoco yelling because the dude draws a line where the ball was, and then a dude on the opposing team is like, he drew a line, and then the umpire goes, "You're not gonna draw a line. Get out of here." Throws him out.
And that was it. And he like stares. He's like, "Really?" My favorite is when he snaps the bat over his knee and yells "mother effer" at the top of his lungs.
Definitely some roid rage involved in that one.
Man,
Like-
was there? I want to get into this NLCS though, right? Because
Fire.
the NLCS, did anyone have a 2-0 lead for the Braves? Really? Like,
Nah.
Hey,
honest.
historically speaking, the Braves always get out to 2 leads. Even in the '96 World Series, they got out to a 2-0 lead.
but I don't think anybody was calling for the Braves
Against this Dodger team.
Yeah, against because coming to this series, we're like, okay, the Dodgers have this. Maybe it's going to be a 5-6 game. Some people said, but the way that they came out a 2-0 lead was not unexpected. And to me, the Dodgers started to look like the Dodgers in that bottom of the 8th, where you have Bellinger up, and he hits a 3-run home run to tie the game. That to me was like seeing the stadium, see how ecstatic it was, especially a Cody Bellinger who struggled throughout the regular season, but has been really good so far in the postseason, was massive. But then he's the spark plug because then you have Mookie, who Mookie was dealing with a hip injury throughout the year. It wasn't his best season, but Mookie comes in and hits a double to score the winning run, what ends up being the winning run, but the go-ahead run at that time. And that was what the Dodgers needed to me, right? To really get themselves going in game 3. Because game 4, the Braves to me were just angry. That was an angry team that came back and I think they got to Urias early. I mean, I know we went 5 innings, but it was a shaky 5. And I ultimately think that this series is more exciting than the Astros and the Boston series, just because of what we were expecting from the Dodgers and how the Braves have come out, a team that's missing their star guy, as we said a few times on this show, in Acuna, and have come through with deadline acquisitions that have been major for them and playing gritty baseball. Unfortunately,
that's a good word. That's definitely what it is. It's definitely gritty baseball.
Yeah, but unfortunately, game 5 last night, it wasn't necessarily gritty baseball by any means. I mean, save for the 2 runs, right, that they got, I want to say was in the first inning, it was all Dodgers throughout. And no one bigger than Chris Taylor, throughout the regular season, Deck, I know you like to make this point in fantasy. He did not finish the season well, but
he had a great year. It's good.
He had a good year. He didn't have a great. He's
also a very valuable player from a fantasy standpoint, just based on his versatility.
He is a valuable player from a fantasy standpoint. In fantasy this year, his last month and change was not worthy of anyone talking about.
That's why he got benched.
He was batting under the Mendoza line, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking
glad
about
to
the
see
postseason.
He got rid of those struggles.
He did.
He'll be a round 2, round 3 guy next year.
Hey, well, when we start talking fantasy baseball, you can give all of your praise for Chris Taylor, but the praise right now is for the game he had last night.
To talk about fantasy baseball.
4 for 5, for 3 runs scored, 6 RBIs, 3 home runs. This guy manufactured more than half of the runs that the Dodgers scored last night.
What was that? The 8th spot? From the 8th spot, I believe.
I believe you're right. It was the 8th spot. Truly impressive. And now we have a 3-2 series. 3-1 series that we weren't expecting necessarily.
No, it's 3-2.
I'm sorry, 3-2. No, 3-2. 3-2. I'm sorry, my writing was off. But
damn, that's that sloppy doctor handwriting, bro.
Hey, oh no, this is digital though. It's just
damn,
I
that's
missed
even
it.
worse.
Hey, I missed it. It's all right. It happens to the best of us. But same thing. I want to know from you and Greg. I'll start with you this time. Just give me an impact player from each team that you feel like has made a difference in this series. And this series obviously has a lot of them. But if you can give me two.
Two impact players. One, before we go, before I give that shout out, I do want to say that in reference to your monologue, also great monologue, by the way, to open this. So shout out to you. As far as the Dodgers, going down 3-1, I think they kind of took Atlanta a little lightly. And because of the talent. But I think now we're starting to see what that talent is capable of. But as far as impact players, I'm going to go with Mookie. It's not because of his bat, but because of his base running, his ability to steal bases and put pressure on the defense. It is so
always underrated.
It's
in the regular
so
season.
Underrated.
Postseason stolen bases means so
crazy
much.
how much it means to get a runner in scoring position in the postseason, because that pressure doubles on the pitcher. Speaking not only like as from MLB, but speaking personally, like your nerves, like you got to get up for that as a pitcher, because every single pitch matters more, because the slightest mistake can cost you a run. And Mookie has been putting pressure on, and what we don't focus on a lot is relief pitchers are really bad at holding runners on. So if you get on late in the game, you can really like push the needle as far as that goes.
No slide step, like very, very slow to the plate.
Yeah, definitely. And on the Atlanta Braves side, I'm gonna go with Austin Riley. They're not in this position without him. We are seeing a guy that is kind of forming into that Chipper Jones mold, where he's that clutch guy for the Atlanta Braves. Mm-hmm. And anybody who knows me as a Met fan, I could not stand Chipper Jones. I respect him now. Can't
find a Met fan that would be able to say
but I hated him. And I'm finding Austin Riley in that same mold, where he's just up at the right moments and he just gets those big hits.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, shout out to I think his name is Gratterall, the guy with the 102-mile-an-hour sinker. I think he's played it.
He was in the Betts trade.
Yeah, I think he's played an integral part of their pen, and not because he throws 102, but I think because he has to keep hitters so honest with his fastball that when he drops in that breaking ball, even though it's a subpar breaking ball, it keeps the hitters very off balance, and that's why he's able to succeed.
An easy 102, by the way. That just has to be noted. It doesn't even look like that coming out the hands. But Dak, who are your impact players for this series?
So my impact player, and I referenced it earlier, one swing really changed the whole complexion of the series. And that's weed god Cody Bellinger. I mean, immediately, 5-2, he hits a ball at his eyes into the right center field stands. 3-run homer in the 8th inning to tie the game up, a game that the Dodgers would eventually win in extras by a score of 6-5 in the 11th inning. That's game 3, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's game 3 when they were down 2-0. I mean, obviously 2-1 and 3-0 is probably the biggest difference in a series. So to have him make that swing there and really pick his pitch, he must have been looking for it. And then he took it deep. So that was big for them. So he gets my award there. And then I'm going to have to go with Greg on this one. For the Braves, it's been Austin Riley. Won them game 1. Really, I mean, almost, you could argue he won them game 2 as well. He was really on the money all year. Another fantasy sleeper, of course. Just had a great season. Is continuing in the season. He's really been Freddie Freeman's their best hitter, but Austin Riley has been that guy. I'll have to agree with Greg that he's up in these big situations, very similar to how Altuve is with the Astros, and he just gets it done.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm going to agree with Austin Riley for the Braves. So, Dak, you didn't know this, or maybe you do, but I never brought it up. I dropped him early in the season in fantasy when there's like early struggles. And when I saw you picked him up, I was like, motherfucker. Because literally, I think like 2 weeks later, he was like just hitting home runs. Like he went on like a streak of like 2 or 3 games, like just with home runs.
When you said that, did you break a bat over your knee as well?
No, I didn't. I wasn't on roids.
You also weren't 0 for 2 or anything.
True. For the Dodgers, I'm leaning towards Corey Seager, and Corey Seager to me is someone that is, coming off of injury, missing a lot of time this year. Potentially last year with the Dodgers. He's
definitely a Yankee next year.
Yes. Future Yankee shortstop.
I find it impressive because in the time that he's been with the Dodgers and the postseasons that he's been in, him and Justin Turner are tied for the most home runs in Dodger postseason history with 13. It is just impressive to see someone that young being that impactful and still going on in this series to be impactful still. Mookie was close, and Mookie's just been good all series. But
there's so many people you could pick for them.
Yeah,
as
and
like,
you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong.
I mean, roster-wise, they really are a super team. Like Trey Turner is one of the best shortstops in baseball. Or now he's a second baseman.
Yeah,
he hasn't even been mentioned, and their pitching staff hasn't even been mentioned. They got
as you say super team. We kind of had this conversation like in the summer on how the NBA is the only sport that really complains about super teams because you have a couple super teams in baseball, and the Dodgers are probably the best we've seen in a long time as far as Hall of Fame potential talent.
I agree, and I think basketball is also very different because there's less chance of an upset in those series, whereas baseball, it really is. Anybody could beat anybody on a given day, and while that is true in basketball, you see these major teams don't get knocked off early like you could see in baseball as the Giants did this year.
Yep.
So before we move on, I just want to ask one question to you guys because it was in the baseball hit list chat when we were talking about Walker Buehler after having a rough start and just in the postseason hasn't been kind to him so far. He has not dominated necessarily the way you expect an ace like Buehler to dominate. Would you, yes or no, put him on a Kershaw in the playoffs type of trajectory or give him that mark where Kershaw coming in a postseason game as opposed to regular season game was not the same fare necessarily as a fan, from a fan's perspective, not necessarily from a professional player's perspective. And Deck, I want to ask you that. Do you think that Buehler is kind of approaching that moniker?
I think it's a little bit too early to kind of give him that label. I think this is still a guy who, listen, this is his first time in Cy Young contention. Whether he wins it or not, who do we think is going to win the Cy Young, in your opinion? Is it going to be one of the guys in Milwaukee, or is it going to be him? Where
I honestly think it's a toss-up between Burns and Scherzer. Like, it could go either way.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
I hope the MLB doesn't do something silly and just go co-Cy Youngs. I'm not for that.
Nah, they would never do that.
I would hope not.
I don't put anything past them.
Can't put it past them. But Greg, what about you? Do you think the same?
Yeah, I agree with Deck. I do think that it's a little early, but if he keeps getting shelled, like say he didn't make it to the World Series and he gets shelled again, then we might have to look at it a little more strongly.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair. He's started 14 games in the postseason and his ERA is 2.62. That's a good postseason pitcher right there.
This season, this postseason has not been kind to him, but I think
how many innings though? You said he started 14 games, or he's pitched in 14? He
started 14 games.
Okay.
Never came out of the pen. He's thrown 75 innings in the postseason.
Okay, then that's fair. It may be premature. That's fair.
That's definitely a big sample size. He's performed well for the most part in a lot of these games. So far this year, he's thrown 14 innings in the postseason. Almost 15 in the postseason.
14 and a third.
Yeah, and he's given up 6 runs. So he hasn't been sharp, but at the same token, he has proved so far in the postseason that he can be a good pitcher, considering his ERA is good. I mean, we remember that start he had in the World Series, even against Boston. I'm looking at the numbers right now. He went 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 7 Ks. I mean, that's a World Series game. And they still lost because that was just how that series was going for them. But I'm not going to push the panic button. I still think
that's fair.
Not a panic, I think, necessarily. I just think it's fun.
It's definitely just pushing the envelope.
Yeah, I think it's fun to talk about it. Because I think if we looked at Kershaw's, because obviously he has a larger sample size, but for the number of rough starts, he had some good ones too. Like Kershaw had some good starts. He just had some really poor ones and short outings where he just was shelled. But I will leave it there. It's fine. You guys both think it's too early, but we have a lot. If they win and they get to the World Series, we'll see.
So you guys didn't pick who you guys got winning Game 6. I picked Astros.
Oh yeah, I meant to.
Let's run through that real quick because time.
Yeah, no, definitely. Dick, you go first. I'll let you hit it.
I'm going to go with my original pick and say Astros in 6. But if this game doesn't go to extras and the final score isn't over like a combined 15 runs, I'm going to be very disappointed.
What about the Dodgers? You think it ends?
Give me Dodgers 7. I think I really do.
Same here. I got Dodgers 7. Sucks to suck, Eddie.
Yeah, I mean,
I want Dodgers in 7. I think for all baseball fans, you want. I mean, maybe not Dodgers in 7 for every.
I hope it's Braves in 7.
Just
because I think that'd be fun.
Yeah,
all Yankee fans do.
Braves in 7 is fun, but
no, I'm just talking smack. Don't mind me. I'm not even being serious.
No, I wasn't minding it. I thought it was funny. But the one thing I'll say is that it wasn't directed. My anger wasn't directed at you. It was at the Yankee fans. I don't get why Yankee fans would really like take a seat on the Braves bandwagon here when the best chance to beat your arch rival in the Red Sox, who you don't like, or the Astros. I know a lot of Yankee fans don't like them. The best chance to beat them would be the Dodgers. So in that case, there's a part of me that wants to see the Dodgers win because I feel like that gives the National League the best chance of winning the World Series, which at this point, as a Yankee fan, is all you can hope for. All you can pray for, actually.
Yeah,
really.
Pray. I was gonna say pray for. I'm gonna go Astros and Dodgers, just like you. I want the Dodgers in 7. I just believe they win tonight. I wouldn't want to see Braves in 6. I think that this series has been so good. I want it to go to 7. So I think for most baseball fans, you want 7. Maybe if you're not a Braves fan.
mean, the fact that the Braves are here, like that's just a testament to the tenacity.
Testament, yeah, for sure. And again, that gritty baseball. But 7 as a 7-game series, going the full 7 to me would be amazing. And yeah, give me those Astros. I think the tide is definitely it turned. But yes, that's who I got. I'm interested to see what happens tonight. I actually didn't look up who was pitching. Do we know offhand? Braves, Astros? Sorry, Braves, Dodgers?
I
pull it up.
Bueller Creed, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think you're right. Give it to me. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's tomorrow. It's Astros now. I thought it was tonight. Tomorrow, it's going to be Scherzer and Ian Anderson. Gotcha.
Wow, Ian Anderson.
Yeah, that's been the best season for him. But let's move on to the NBA. So we have the NBA season that started already. If you watched the Wednesday show, you got a chance to get some in-depth analysis from Carl and the gang there, and they got to speak more about what this opened into the season. But we want to start with the top 75 players list because that has been highly contested, as you can see Greg's face down there. And to talk about it, I want to bring in the man himself, boss man, Carl Coulange, to give us his input on what he thinks of this list. If he would come in, there we go. To give us his input on. Hey, I hear myself.
Look at this.
There it is. Yeah, he's listening.
What's going on, my guy?
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
What's up? I'm good. Just got back.
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. What's your shirt say?
Oh, we know what his shirt says.
It just so happens. Honestly, so I've had this shit on all day. I really wasn't even playing.
Ironically, I had a feeling Paul was going to be up to some shenanigans. So I wore my Bob's Burger shirt because he's going to come here sounding like a burger.
I'm not sounding like as transparent as possible. The problem is I'm already in the negative. You see what I'm saying? Because media, whenever people hear media, they always want to rub them the wrong way. So this list is being rubbed the wrong way.
Especially.
No. See, Carl, you could break trends. Just because you're in the media doesn't mean you have to conform to silly media narratives.
It's not a silly media narrative. We have to understand and look at the list. And I'm here to help you guys understand it and break it down.
Let me just explain for the folks at home who maybe aren't familiar with the list. So in honor of the 75th anniversary season for the NBA, they came out with this top 75 greatest players list that was put together by a panel of front office execs, coaches, current and former players in the media. And they didn't put in any ranked order.
You lost me at front office execs, to be honest.
Honestly, if there are any Kings execs on this panel, I want it would make sense because they don't know what they're doing.
So y'all already know how Carl and Greg feel about this. And Carl, as our guest, I want to start with you on this. What do you make of this list so far? And I will say for those that, again, there are a lot of people who aren't in these St. Louis streets, Carl was caping hard for Paul Pierce. He was ready to go off on any and every one, y'all would have had a different Wednesday. Was on the Wednesday? No, actually, it was.
I would
Thursday.
have drove to headquarters.
He was ready to throw down.
Drive to headquarters. Y'all don't understand.
People don't separate what Paul Pierce has done after his career on ESPN.
But they still don't give him his respect when he plays. No. He's the most underrated of his era. He's the most underrated of his era.
This doesn't just go back to like what the nonsense Paul Pierce does. This goes back years to Carl's love for Paul Pierce.
Yeah, I would have drove.
This is so deep.
I would have literally drove. I would have drove there to myself to the headquarters and started a riot or started protesting to get Paul Pierce on that list.
Make the list.
But listen, I love the NBA. You guys know that. It's just as passionate as you guys are about baseball as I am about the NBA. Mm-hmm. And for someone who's never played, and the fact that I consider entertainment to kind of be like a saving grace for me. You know what I'm saying? So like it's not just watching the game, it's everything that comes with watching the game. It's listening to the players talk. It's watching the documentaries, it's reading the books, it's understanding. So a lot of people are not understanding the history of the NBA. Now, the first thing that came out, Kenny Smith said it. He said, how can you get rid of the first 50? So that was always the debate is about, getting rid of the first 50. So the NBA went with the first 50 that they had in 1997, which a lot of people are debating certain players shouldn't be on. But my perspective is, again, and I said this to Greg and he doesn't agree with it. He goes, I said, who told the NBA story in those 50 players? By story, I mean, you're talking about legacy, you're talking about playing mobility, you're talking about, accolades, team accolades, the whole NBA, they selected 50 players. And then they just added 25 players. Neek and Bob McAdoo got left off the original team they should have been on, but they got added. Right. So then now they added another set of players. And that's where people are kind of like, well, should this player be on? Should that player be on? And I think, again, look at who voted, right? It's not just the media personality, old players, new players, to the point where it added up. It ended up being a tie, I think, for the last spot. And I think
it was 76. There was a tie for the
76. So we can't sit here and just blame the media for narratives. They had a small portion of votes where you're looking at executives, coaches, players, new players, and selective media personnel who are actually, some of them are former players. And I said this to Declan the other day too. I'm like, what we do, we sit here and critique the people who get paid to do it. Clearly, it wasn't skewed if they're asking opinions of everybody else. So clearly, there had to be more than one vote coming from your contemporaries, not just media personnel, to vote on the next 25. And I think that's the problem is people are thinking, well, it's a media a scrub because this person was left off. No, players alike. You're telling me players, coaches, and people who actually play the game are vote or have a hand in on who's voting, and we have a problem with it. This is the list. And clearly everyone's going to be room up for debate. There's a lot of players we thought should have made it. And I'm not going to sit here and say I think everybody should have made it. Like I was surprised Vince Carter wasn't on there. He's one of the ones I really think should have made it. But then it goes to question, out of the 25, who comes off? Because they added Damian Lillard, which is a questionable pick, right? They added Anthony Davis, which is another questionable pick. So it's not just the ones that Greg, and I know Greg has a vendetta for Reggie because like that's just
we're gonna get to Reggie.
So my point is this:
the former Knicks fan and Greg.
Right, but my point is this: is that I think we should go into this looking at who voted. It's not just media; it's former players, it's current players,
and I'm happy you came with that as your opening, and here's why. While you say it's just it's not just media, but everything is driven by media narratives. It's the whole reason why, and you can't say that these players and these people are not susceptible to these narratives. It's the whole reason we play so much. No. I was patient I waited.
Fair point.
It was very patient.
And this is the whole reason that we have this whole thing about rings over accolades or over individual, talent and statistics. There are people that will literally say one player is better because they have more rings, regardless of the fact that the player was like Ray Allen, for instance. There are people that would say, you know what? I'm going to hold off on that because I think we could do that on a different show. Let me get back to what I was saying. But you can't
Let me know
say
when I can tag.
Even though, media narratives, even though the media just voted, narratives play a crucial role in all of this because those same executives, those same players, they watch this stuff too. They're susceptible to this. We all have been susceptible to this. Even you call James Harden a bum. You did that. because of his playoff performances. That was you. You said that.
That had nothing to do with the media, but go ahead. It's based off his playoff performances.
Stop it.
And the other thing that you said was, again,
full of it.
No, I'm not. And the other thing that you said was the whole rings narrative, right?
Hold on, Greg. You finished?
No, I'm not
make sure you finish. All right, Carl, give him a second.
Sorry. But as far as players go, absolutely, I have a vendetta against Reggie because Reggie is the most one-trick pony, the most overrated guard in the history of the league. He gets so much, and it's not about what. Yes, he had moments, but what we have to stop doing is acting like in the history of the league, Reggie Miller is some top 75 player because he is not. Reggie Miller did not. As far as talent goes, there are two guards now that are more talented than Reggie ever was. So we really have to stop, quote unquote, giving Reggie his flowers. Somebody today told me Reggie's a top 5 shooting guard in the history of the league. I almost slapped my phone out my hand.
No, that's crazy. But I didn't say that.
Yeah.
That's sense.
Who said that?
Call right now.
I don't even know who he was.
I didn't say that.
I haven't seen his name, but he was in the chat. It was just so wild. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, Carl, rebuttal real quick. I want to get to the comments after.
So my rebuttal is basically this. Greg talks about the media drumming up the narrative about rings over, right? There are players who made the list, like speaking of a Reggie Miller who doesn't have rings, that are on the list. So I don't think the list was drummed up by just rings or certain things.
I didn't say that it was drummed up because of that. I was talking about the media pushing the narrative of
I don't
rings
think the
matter
players,
more.
Listen, players have their own. Like I don't think it has anything to do with narratives because we're looking at players that we don't know about, and they made the list, and that's the argument. Today, me and you were arguing about Dave Cowens. Casual fans and casual media don't talk about Dave Cowens. So how is he on the list if that's media driven? There's a lot of players that you don't know.
Absolutely.
Right. See what I'm saying? So I don't think it's media driven. I think you just have to know the history of the league. And we're going to sit here. And the biggest thing I have is that when people say, well, the competition level wasn't great.
I never use that argument.
Right. No, but the people in the comments are going to say that. They're going to be like, well, they played against scrubs. That's why they played great. We can't take away who they played against.
I honestly think you
can't
should focus
do that.
on the argument I'm making, not the argument people.
Yeah, and I disagree with your argument. But I disagree with your argument. Again, the list was made. It was, again, you're not going to sit here and tell me that the media poisoned the minds of great players and the players now to say, oh well,
absolutely,
this player
I
should
can
be in
say
there.
that. One second, Steph.
You can't say that.
One more point. And the reason I argued Dave Cowens is because I do feel that if there are players who have better careers, there are some players that should be removed from that top 50.
Dwight Howard had a better career than Dave Cowens?
Absolutely.
Ooh, hold on. Okay, on that note, I do want to shout out Ray now because he brought this up, and I want to talk about it. He said that Dwight's peak is better than both Reggie Miller and Paul Pierce.
100%.
Now,
no. How?
Carl, good. Boom. Carl,
how?
Wait, let's start.
Dwight's peak? What was Dwight's peak? Tell me Dwight's peak's year right now. Do you know Paul Pierce had the most points in one season, 1 year? And the reason why he didn't win
Are you talking about total points?
I'm talking about total points. He had
Nobody
the most
cares
1
about
year.
that, Carl.
But that's fine. Okay, but
if he didn't
Dwight's peak. What was Dwight's peak compared to Paul Pierce's? What was Dwight's peak?
Dwight is a 5-time rebound champ, 3-time block champ. He was a 3-time defensive player of the year. Paul Pierce has none of these things.
Cool, but you're talking about one side of the ball. You're talking about what you're talking about defense. That's it.
And I'm sorry.
You're talking about defense.
Like 8-time
All-NBA.
So
when's the peak of your career? When's the peak of your career?
8-time All-NBA. Yes.
How many All-NBA teams is Paul Pierce on in comparison to Dwight?
Fine. Okay. Take that knot. Go ahead. Take it.
No.
Go ahead. Take that knot. But when was his peak? You still didn't answer my question. When was his peak?
Even if you're going to argue years of peaks, Dwight was the better player at the apex of his career than Paul Pierce was, and it shows in the accolades. So whatever you're arguing is for naught. And yes, Steph, Dwight is a lock for the Hall of Fame. Absolutely.
I never said Dwight wasn't a lock for the Hall of Fame.
He asked the question to me in the chat, so I'm putting it out there.
So you just basically told me one side of the ball.
That wasn't me.
Right, but you just told me one side of the ball for Dwight Howard, but meanwhile, Paul Pierce is a scorer. So this is what we're doing. You're not talking about this all-around game. You're saying
I just said he was more,
you said
because all NBA,
you're saying defensively.
All NBA is not just about one side of the ball, right or wrong.
Say it again.
All NBA is not about one side of the ball. Side note, just to revert back a little bit.
It should be about offense because they have all defensive teams, though. Yeah, but they also have all defensive. So then why do they have all defensive teams then? If it's not about one side of the ball.
I said all NBA team, the all NBA team, as in you are the best player at this particular position amongst all your peers in the league, is not just about one side of the ball. The all defensive team is. And I'm telling
my point, though.
Dwight Howard has
was
more
a better
all
defensive
NBA teams than
So you're only
Paul
going
Pierce.
based off of all NBA teams. That's your only accolade.
No, that was
saying.
my counter to you saying that somehow Paul Pierce had a better peak, which is ridiculous.
He had a longer peak than I would say. Because Dwight went to LA and he fell off.
He went to LA, he fell off. He went to Houston, he fell off. And then after that, he became a journeyman to the point where he had his good years in Orlando. But meanwhile, Paul Pierce was on the Celtics, being their leading scorer for years. But go ahead. Who was the other player he said?
Great points in the comments. Shout out to Justin Feinberg.
That's fine. But again, we already know what it is because people want to sit there and attack.
No. This has nothing to do with the hate against you. Okay. But Paul Pierce Dwight Howard led his team to a final. Did he not? Because you're all about players leading team places, right?
That's
right?
fair.
That's your thing.
Absolutely.
Players leading thing. Paul Pierce rode the coattails of Garnett and Ray Allen to a finals.
But again, and then here's the misconception is that Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen needed Paul Pierce to win the championship, right? But we don't talk about that. But we don't say that though.
No,
right?
Paul Pierce
we don't say that though.
Going to leave Boston if he did not get help.
First of all, he didn't. And Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen left because they didn't get help. That's the misconception.
I want to add another point that Raynell brought in, which is Dwight Howard was the best at this position. Paul Pierce has never been the best at this position. Would you disagree?
That's okay. That's
you keep saying that's fair, and you're conceding points.
I'm not conceding points. Listen, I'm not conceding points. That's okay. But guess what? Paul Pierce made the list and Dwight didn't. And this is why we're having the conversation.
Points and you keep saying
that's okay. That's okay because Paul Pierce made the list.
Again,
Dwight didn't.
Reggie Miller also made the list, and he don't belong nowhere near that
Paul Pierce made, and this is why we're having this debate. People are upset that players who didn't make the list, but my guy is on the list and Reggie's on the list. What are we doing here? They made the list.
The fact that you agree with this tells me even more that they don't belong there.
No, they do belong because they made the list. That's my point. They made the list. So what are we doing here? They made the list, and people in the comments are upset that their favorite players didn't make it. That's what we're doing right now. I mean, my guys made the list.
I don't care.
Yeah, say it again. Who?
I said my favorite player's on the list. That's
Paul made the list, regardless of those individual accolades and the high peaks. You can sit here and make the debate, but Paul made the list.
Here's my question.
Clearly, he had enough votes to make it.
Who is higher on the list, Paul Pierce or Chris Paul?
There's no ranking.
There's no ranking. There's no ranking. Yeah. Who was the other player that he said? That should that.
Oh, it was just talking about Dwight, but then
he said Reggie Miller, right? He has a vendetta against Reggie.
He was comparing Reggie and
he has a vendetta against Reggie too, right? And I think the thing with Reggie that people don't understand is that they're saying, well, your team's Reggie never
comes.
Here comes what? Go ahead, finish my sentence.
No,
please, by all means, please.
You're gonna talk about his telling story and his playoff attributes and accolades.
I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm not gonna talk about that at all.
Surprisingly enough.
Let me ask a question. To the
got stabbed and then averaged how many?
All-time franchise leaders in points. Do we not look at that as an accolade? Yes or no?
No, because you can have a shit franchise and be the all-time leader and it don't matter.
But in the amount of points, when you have 25,000 points, that doesn't matter.
I don't think it doesn't matter at all. I think it's context though, Greg. We're just speaking to his context. Not that it doesn't matter. But like you lead a franchise in points, all-time lead in points.
20,000 points. 20,000 points. Right. 20,000 points.
Hold.
I think Eric Siegel made a great point. Eric Siegel made a great point in the comments. He said, had Paul Pierce not made it, he would have been the highest scorer in the league. Not to make it, he deserved.
Okay, and Justin Feinberg also asked if Paul Pierce doesn't win a title, is his legacy the same?
Well, we don't deal with ifs, but
burn the shirt.
But he won already. So why are we dealing with ifs? This is what I'm talking about, right? You see what we're trying to do? This is what we're doing right now. Again, these guys made the list. Their contemporaries, coaches put them on the list. This is what we're saying right now. They made the list.
So
Greg, let me ask you a question.
You keep saying the contemporary. Hold on.
Greg, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that Dwight belongs on the list before Paul Pierce? Yes or no? Is that what you believe?
Say that again?
Do you believe that Dwight belongs on the list before Paul Pierce?
Absolutely. 100%.
That's a shame.
Not even close.
Wait, but listen, Dwight won what, 2 years ago? Whatever the bubble ring was?
Yeah.
Right. So Dwight never won with Orlando. So if
but again, Dwight was way more successful with less talent around him than Paul Pierce ever was in his entire career. Period.
I don't think that's fair. Paul Pierce was a very good player for 10 years.
Yeah, very good. That's cool. He still wasn't better than Dwight at his peak. For both of their peaks, Dwight was the far superior player.
He's a finals MVP.
It's not even close.
And that's based off of what? Circumstance. It's the same
based
thing.
off of accolades. What do you mean?
It's circumstance. It's circumstance because not every player is fortunate enough to get
what's happening, guys. What's happening now is Carl was at a cliff and one hand dropped.
But then you know what's so funny? You know what's so funny about Greg? You know what's so funny about Greg? Greg said, "We don't count people who get to the finals and lose." Did you not?
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
What I said.
Yes,
no,
you did.
What? No.
I'm going to go back and read this.
Get the right quote. Get the right quote. Give him the right quote. What did you
say? This is when Carl used to say things like Chris Paul never made it to a conference finals, and I said the bar is not conference finals. The bar is finals. So why are we all of a sudden shifting it? That was a whole different discussion. But
no, it's okay. Hold on. I'm looking back. Go ahead. You guys can go on. I'm gonna
wait, but Greg, I don't get that point. I don't get that point though, only because if the bar is finals, that doesn't help your argument that you made about Chris Paul.
Oh, no. You are confusing.
I have no context on the situation.
Yeah.
He didn't pick up that point. Carl did.
That's why I was just asking.
Yeah.
That was
Carl
a whole separate
that was
thing,
unrelated to this.
I was asking why.
I mean, again, this is what happens when you hang it on by
I want you to answer.
Hold on. He literally said, "This is literally sounds like a made-up narrative to boost a player's resume." What exactly did Reggie lead the team to if they won nothing? So the same thing applies for Howard, right? Would we not?
But again, everything as a whole. We were talking about accolades with Paul Pierce and Chris and Dwight Howard. Even if we're gonna go to Reggie Miller and Dwight Howard, Reggie Miller played 18 seasons and didn't even average 20 points for his career. We're talking about the 75 greatest players of all time, and this man didn't even average. Again, he is a one-trick pony.
The problem, so by your standards, your standards, the list should just be about.
No, I didn't
the best
say
at
that.
Peak. Right? No,
it's not just about. No, it's about their overall career, their accolades. Their accolades should matter more than anything.
Individual success that they received.
It should matter more than anything.
Is the Finals MVP an individual success?
Yes. However,
Dwight Howard
wait. You cannot get to a finals if you're on a bad team.
So it doesn't matter then. But you just said it did. That's
Carl,
my
do
point.
you understand?
I understand what you're saying.
Finals, though, they got to the finals.
But that's my point, though. I just asked you if a finals so that finals MVP has a caveat to it, right? That you have to get to the finals, right?
Exactly. But your whole thing is leading the team matters. You weigh that very heavily. Dwight Howard and Paul Pierce led a team to a championship.
No, that's what I'm telling. Yes, he did.
He did. What did Paul Pierce do without Kevin
Garnett? He led them in scoring, and he was the Finals MVP. What are we talking about?
Whoa. Okay. I think the chat has its full of the Paul Pierce, Dwight Howard back and forth. I do want to ask Greg, is there anyone else that you felt like should have been on this list besides Dwight that you would add, and who would you remove potentially? If you have it doesn't have to be. At least for Dwight, I'd like to know.
Who would I remove?
Yeah.
I would remove Dave Cowens in a heartbeat. And for those of you that don't know, Dave
Howard
played in the 60s.
He wasn't even the best.
He wasn't even the best player.
Again, no, that's two Celtic players he wants to remove off the list. I'm just saying that.
I didn't say.
But Damian Lillard is safe.
Wait. I did not say Paul Pierce should be removed. I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. For Dwight Howard.
No, I said Reggie. No, I didn't.
Just now. No, he didn't say that just now. That wasn't
just now, but before he did. Okay.
I never said
that. Reynal said that. And
I asked you a direct question. I said, would you remove Paul Pierce for Dwight Howard and put him on the list? You said yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was so busy catching up to
rapid
your
fire.
Point that I didn't even hear that part of the question. But I would remove Reggie Miller. Like Reggie Miller has no place on this list for me.
Okay,
and,
so Paul stays for Dwight.
I mean, are you? I can see Paul. I can see Paul Pierce staying on the list. I don't like it, but I can understand why he would be on the list.
Fair.
Okay. Now, as far as I would probably remove Dame. Honestly, I do think that Dame is a little premature. I love Dame. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think that he's accomplished enough to be top 75 just yet, as far as individual accolades and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And it sucks because he's playing in an era with Steph and KD and Bron, and it just sucks. It's just a bad luck of the draw. Also, James Harden as well.
Yeah, you see, for me, I question Anthony Davis and Dame. I thought about Russ, and I understand Russ, but
I understand Russ too.
Yeah, but that's two open spots right there. Like the older players, it's hard for me because I understand like the league and people are going to take them off. Fine, you're going to say that, but out of the new 25, those are the two that I was kind of just like, I was a little surprised that they made the list.
I think Anthony Davis, they jumped the shark with that a little bit. I think he could have the potential to be there, but I think that, I mean, he's still relatively young. He just got to the Lakers. I mean, are we crediting the Pelicans years? Because I don't think the Pelicans, what he did for the Pelicans in those years is
right. And you could also question Reggie. You could go back and say, okay, fine. Reggie is
most people are ready to just take Reggie.
Yeah,
off.
most people. He like they're questioning Reggie. I'm trying to hang on with 1 foot with Reggie because maybe I'm trying to cap for Mike Miller because we know Mike is. I'm going to talk about it with Mike, and Mike's going to have his comments about it. But I could see. But again, that's 3 spots, right? So you got and Greg said Dave Cowens, and I could go through the list if you guys want me to go. We're going to go through the list and we could take people off. But I'm just saying.
That could be for another day.
No. We're gonna do the hit list remix. Trust me. But I'm just saying.
There's one person in America.
Y'all heard that. We are at the hit list. We are remixing the top 75.
Yeah,
at 75.
I'm working on the promo. I have a promo ready by Monday. I'm working on it. So we'll have different episodes.
You heard it here first, everyone.
So we'll have a Smoke and Mirrors edition. We'll have a Fan Zone edition. We'll have a regular show edition. We'll have an NFL team edition to do a remix. You guys will get to choose your own 75 players that make the list. But again, Dame was surprising. You take off Dame and you take off Anthony Davis.
Wait, hold on. Deck, did you say he didn't do that much for the Pelicans?
No, I said that he didn't do. I don't want to say not that he didn't do enough. I said that he didn't do enough for the Pelicans to make the top 75 list. Not that they didn't win. He obviously got a lot better, and as most players do when surrounded by greatness.
Yeah, you see,
I disagree with that because Anthony Davis didn't do anything different on the Lakers that he did on the Pelicans. The Pelicans were in positions to make the playoffs specifically because of Anthony Davis.
I'll tell you this right now: if Anthony Davis doesn't get traded to the Lakers, he never sniffs this list.
That's debatable. That's a good point. That's a good take. Even though I hate doing ifs. We got Eric's in the comment. You see, this is all selective because we're naming players. Eric is saying Rodman and Walton do not have the stats. He loves Rodman, but then Rodman was a defensive presence just like Dwight Howard was. You see what I'm saying? He's like a 11-time rebounding champ, if I'm not mistaken. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it's selective to who we believe should be on there and shouldn't be on there. Bill Walton led the Portland Trailblazers to their one and only single championship and had one of the greatest runs in NBA history. You see what I'm saying? And people are saying, well, he should have been left off the list. Like the one and sole championship that they have is because of Bill Walton. So it's all selective about who we believe should have made it and who should have.
That's what makes this fun, though.
I know, but I think the NBA did a great job by making the list. I like the list.
I want to ask something though, because this is going shout out to Rick because he said it earlier. Is there an argument that this list should just be fresh when you do this? Like the next 75, or even for this 75, it should have been a fresh list instead of coming in with a 50 already and just adding 25, allowing the same grouping of people to choose a fresh 75 slate instead of saying give us 25, or in this case 26 that you can choose.
I think that's what they did, and they just chose the original 50. They ended up selecting the original 50. I don't think the original 50 was a lock-in because going in,
I can't imagine that they would, if you had the option to, that the same 50 would still make it. Like the same way we had ties. Like I think there are some people who would have dropped out. So I don't think that was the case. I can't imagine that all like from all the people who were polled, that they would all just, choose the same 50. So I do believe that they probably went with 50 from before and gave 25 slots. And my question is, and Carl, I want you to answer it. Would this list be better if it was just fresh 75 straight that they all get to choose from and you get to?
It would be. Right. You'd have a lot of more new players in there. I wouldn't mind it. I mean, I don't think the 50 that they put in, like, it doesn't really affect my opinion about it. I mean, I either way, it'd still be a great list because you still have there's only a small percentage of players who ever even make it to the league. So the fact that we've been having this debate, like it wouldn't change my opinion either way. I just think we're not giving the people who voted enough credit because we're like, oh, well, this person made it and why didn't this person make it? Not everyone can't make the list. Like it just comes down to it because we're going to move somebody off to put our favorite players on. And then people are going to debate, well, these people didn't. Like we had people saying Kyrie deserved to be on the list. We had people saying Klay Thompson deserved to be on the list. Ben Watt, like how many players are we going to move off just to put the players that we like on the list because we like this player?
Which is exactly why I agree with Rick. It should have been a fresh 75. You don't take anything away from the 50th anniversary.
On that fresh 75, all of our favorite players get in because we've seen them play because we did. And I think that's
it doesn't have to be all of our favorite players because you could still have guys from the early to mid 90s on that list that didn't make it. in that
Carl,
in the original.
don't take the bait in the comments section. I just
no. Wait. What are they saying?
No,
I'm not even reading.
The call. Y'all seen that Family Guy episode where Stewie beats up Brian for the money?
Yeah, show me.
That's what the comment section is doing a call right now.
It's okay because I listen. As I said before, as the EP, I take the L's to give you entertainment because the comments are going up.
Is that what this is?
It's always like that. It's always let's gang up on Carl.
I feel like that happened to coincide, but I don't think that's what you were doing on purpose.
No, not at all.
I mean, a lot of people are killing you on your Dwight takes. They say Feinberg said he's not just defense. He averaged 20 points over 4 times in his career.
That's fine. So did Paul, but Paul Pierce did as well too, though. So what are you talking
Paul.
about?
In all fairness, Paul Pierce did average like over 20.7 seasons.
But okay. Now and
his highest was at 26 during the I believe 05-06 season. So.
Now imagine that Dwight Howard averages over 20 points, but yet is the supreme superior defender, therefore making him the better player in a shorter span of time. Thank you.
It's okay.
Appreciate
he could
you
be listen, he could be the better player, but my guy is still on the list, so I don't care. Like at the end of the day, Pierce is on the list. So
all right.
Have a debate all they want to.
I want to move on. We had a lot of fun with the top 75, and we're gonna get a remix, so y'all can look out for the remix.
Yeah,
Carl Tate dropping on Monday. I want to talk about Ben Simmons because Ben Simmons has been percolating in every NBA circle. What's been going on there? At request the trade during the offseason, holds out, goes to practice, gets removed from practice by Doc Rivers. For detrimental behavior, and you have Embiid that is okay with just not holding back at all, being very unfiltered in his comments about how he feels about Ben, and it seems like the tide's turning, right? Not that everyone was on Ben Simmons' side exactly, but he's lost the respect of his teammates. It seems like his head coach clearly is not fond of him. And I think today it was released that he spoke with the team and said that he wasn't mentally prepared to play this season. And he's lost about $2 million now because he didn't show up for preseason, hasn't gone to some of these practices by claiming that it's mental illness. He has a reprieve. That's what the CBA has in place. So, Greg, I'll start with you real quick. Actually, Deck, I want to kick it to you just to give you a little bit the time to talk about it.
Airtime? Is that what this is?
This is airtime.
Sorry, Deck.
Hey,
bro.
Deck. It's hard to get in a word edgewise with these two. But
no, it's all right. Listen, guys, you guys know I'm not the biggest basketball fan. I would say it's similar to how Carl just started watching football. So I appreciate the conversation, and I learned from it. I love listening to you guys talk ball, and especially,
I want to hear your thoughts on this Ben Simmons situation.
For someone like me, it's never a bad thing to take time off the voice. It's good for my rest. But yeah, I think this is a crazy situation. Obviously, I was never really a huge fan of Joel Embiid, but I respect everything he said. That takes a lot of balls to go out and say I don't care about that man anymore. And you know what? If I'm Embiid, I'm pissed off too. My window right here. This is a team that has had the talent to make a run, in my opinion. This is a team who could have made a championship run the past couple of years. They fall short every year. That's what the process has been. But I think to have a guy come in and Ben Simmons, and Philly hasn't handled this all well to either, but at the same token, what really are they supposed to do? You didn't want to trade him. Now you got a guy who's wanting to force a trade. You're not getting anything back from him because you're coming off of a guy who really, his season right now, his season last year, you're not getting Kyrie back for him. Vaccinated or not vaccinated, you're not getting Kyrie back for Ben Simmons. It doesn't matter. And you're not getting Bradley Beal. You're not getting all these guys that have been linked in the trade talks from any team. Ben Simmons is not going to get moved for the valuable player that they think he is. Morey, on the other hand, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, the team president for the Sixers, is saying that he won't trade him unless he gets that valuable guy back. So he's willing to wait 4 years. Well, at the same time, he's going to start. What is the guy's something Maxley? Is that the
Tyrese Maxey?
Tyrese Maxey. Excuse me for botching his name. If you're fine with that as your,
I mean, he had 20 points in game 1. He played well.
He did play well, but again, 4-year investment here. What are they going to do is the real question. Ben Simmons now, he is taking time off. He says he wasn't mentally prepared to play. Is anybody really mentally prepared to play in Philly is the question. But after the whole saga that went down, Jason Kelsey, the center for the Eagles, had some great words about that. He said, "This city will love you, but you just got to go out and play good."
Yeah, that can be said about major markets. I agree with that. Carl, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I was having a conversation with a Philly fan, and he was just basically saying, this was a repeat of what they did to Markel Fultz. And when Markel Fultz had, he had his issues, and the Philly fans were ready to crucify him. It's the same thing. So I think this entire situation is screwed up, and I'm not one to, who knows if he's lying and telling the truth. I can't say that as far as his mental state to come back for this season. I just know, mental health is something that we take seriously. I know we definitely take that seriously. So I can't sit here and my stance on it is I've been very confused, and I blame both parties on this. I think both handle it completely wrong. From Philly to Ben Simmons to everyone. Doc shouldn't, throw his own team under the bus in interviews. And I already have a vendetta against Doc as it is. So I guess him being that's what you pay for, being completely transparent. But how do you expect your players to respond to you when you come out and say that? Joel Embiid as well too, as far as being transparent, we don't know how that mentally affects someone to go out there and publicly say something. Ben, on the other hand, I think Ben shouldn't have decided to go home. I think you want to trade and you just wait until you requested it and you play until they trade you. As simple as that. Or is the organization going to sit him down? So the fact that he went home, he came back, wasn't a good look, because clearly someone who's disengaged, clearly didn't want to be there, is showing you, I don't want to be here, trade me. And I also believe Daryl Morey shouldn't, clearly going to try to wait for the best trade possible. He had that opportunity when James Harden was on the table and he didn't pull the trigger. So now you're trying to wait for a second superstar, which his name is already tainted as it is. You think a team's going to want that? So he messed up in that regard. Just get what you can get, because it's going to be an ongoing saga at the end of the day. And lastly, I just hope Ben Simmons as well, because like I said, mental health is very underrated. And, if he's really going through that, prayers to him and his family.
Yeah, I like that tone change up too, by the way. That's real sexy.
Thank you.
I know y'all peeped it. Homie was like, he might have something up on the mic. All right. Greg, let me get your thoughts. Do you agree with Carl and Deck? Are you on the same page?
No, I am not. I was at one point. I was. And then I had to look at this. I had to look very strongly at this. And I took a step back. Initially, I was, Team Ben. They threw him under the bus. I went back and I looked at the interview just to get context. Doc's interview.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were covering the playoffs, and I made a comment. I said, Ben Simmons' inability to improve his game has made him one of the most overrated players in the league. And it was on display in the entire playoffs, because Philly essentially played 4-on-5 on offense because he's so limited. Now, when Doc was asked that question, he was asked basically, is he a championship player? I'm paraphrasing. Or is he a championship caliber point guard? And at that point, he basically said, I don't know. What I saw on Doc's face, and I am no fan of Doc, right? But was a coach who was fed up with a player that's not buying in, or a player that doesn't care to work to get better.
He doesn't trust the process.
He doesn't have a process.
And I think that trickled down to guys like Embiid and a Danny Green, where they're sick of his shenanigans. And shout out to Ray Jarvis, because he shared something in one of our group chats from Ben Simmons' draft profile that says, they're worried about his mental toughness, because he's not willing to work hard. And this is from his LSU days. He's not willing to work hard. He's not willing to improve his game. So we have to ask ourselves, who is really the problem here? And it reminded, and the problem in practice, Steph, where he was sent home, Doc asked him to go on a defensive drill and he refused. It reminded me when I coached high school basketball, and we had players who thought they were better than that they were, and they walked out of the gym because they didn't want to participate in a drill for reasons unbeknownst to whoever. And it's just like, who do you think you are? Yeah, I get it. They're making a bunch of money and professional and whatnot. But if you are making this money and you signed this contract to play, the least you could do is show up and work. And I'm just going to make a quick parallel real quick. Tua in Miami they've been basically have his 1 foot out the door since he's been drafted. And all that man does is show up and play. You don't hear any headlines from him from Miami about not wanting to be there. Okay. All he does is show up and play and does what he's supposed to do. Ben's problem is he's kicking and screaming like a 3-year-old, like kind of Kaylee on Friday because he doesn't want to do something. Whereas and shout out to Nick and Justin for kind of linking me to these stories and made me go back and watch this stuff, because Ben is in a position where if he would actually, just improve his game even a little bit. Look at Giannis. Look at that. Holy smokes, they're champions now. Giannis didn't become an amazing shooter, but guess what? He's taking shots and he's making the defense respect the fact that he'll take an open jump shot. He'll hit it. And the team loves him for it. You know what I mean?
So some players are just not built and NBA ready. It's unfortunate.
To me, if you wanted to fault the organization in the beginning, sure, but this is all on Ben at this point.
Yeah, and part of the problem I have is like, I guess speak on your behalf. Like, Kyrie was able to speak on his behalf. Like, stop dragging my name in the mud. This is how I feel. He went out and he said what he said. So I want to hear from Ben, and I want to hear what you have to like. And that's part of, like, as much as we hate it, part of speaking, because you're basically a celebrity at this point. You see what I'm saying? So that, like, that comes with the job. It comes with, like, so speak on it. Like, have an interview and let people know this is what I feel, this is what's going on, this is what happened, and be as transparent as possible.
And
not doing that.
So Ray said, Reynolds said all they're doing is asking him to shoot, and he's in his feelings, which is right. And Manny said Doc is toxic. Ben is just as toxic at this point, because he's acting like a child.
It's obvious. I mean, it really is. Like, just looking at everything. But you know what? Like I said, or like Carl said, really, prayers up. Hope all is well. I hope he can come back strong next year.
Here's a question that they asked on TNT. Who plays first, Kyrie or Ben? Who steps on the court first this season?
Yikes. I'm going to say Ben, only because the whole vaccination situation is something else. It's not even basketball related.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think it makes more sense. No, I would go with Ben as well. Yeah, just because with Kyrie, especially just how outspoken he is on this matter and in most matters, I just don't think that we would see Kyrie before we'd see Ben potentially, and that might be the Sixers taking a lesser package just to move him.
And to the whole toxicity point, the players are pissed off at Ben. The players are not pissed off at Doc. So who's more toxic at this point?
Ben.
Shout out to Nick for that.
Yeah, Ben lost the locker room, which is really hard. Like, if he had the
I don't think
Doc, to be different.
I don't think Doc ever had the locker room, to be honest.
That's also
that's a definite source I have on that one.
Yeah, but look at it this way though. Everyone, like, morale can improve when there's a common enemy. Ben Simmons is a common enemy, right? Yeah. Like, if the players have an issue with him and Doc has an issue with him, the players can rally behind Doc and how he's treating Ben. And I think that could win Doc favor. So that to me is important. That's something to look at and think about.
They just need to let Doc go, man. They need a new coach. I'm sorry. Doc isn't all he seems to be. He's a great motivational speaker. I know firsthand. Like, he'll give you a great motivational speech to get you going. But that's it. I can't see Doc doing any more than that. I don't give him any more credit than that.
Hit us with the soft voice again. Ooh.
I can't say Doc, listen, Doc is just, that's a topic for another day, man. That guy is something else.
Well, I want to say thank you, Carl, for coming on. Really appreciate it. The chat was loving you. I was loving it. You and Greg, anytime y'all get on together, I think there's always
ratings. It's always absolutely. That's what we do, man.
Sparks fly,
Absolutely, always. No, but seriously, I'm gonna do the goal is I'm gonna book tape segments, kind of like what we did with the Rushmores. We'll do a different 75 anniversary and get you guys to pick your own 75 players, just to kind of keep people entertained for sure.
I like it. Well, again, Carl, thank you so much for coming on, boss man. Always appreciate it. We're gonna keep it moving and get into the next segment that I know you don't want to be a part of. Basketball's done. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do enough football with the football guys. I will say that Pick'ems is getting pretty interesting. Shout out to Manny Sheffield. He's leading the way. He's got the most picks. So
Manny.
You guys can't let Manny come in here and have the most picks.
We'll never hear the end of it. Manny absolutely cannot win.
Yeah, he cannot win. So you guys need to. We got a lot more weeks left. So make sure you guys pick them for sure.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, guys. Take care.
Hi, bro.
Thanks,
Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend.
You
Burn
too.
the shirt.
Never.
What the hell just happened? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My view is off. The gallery view is what I need. I'm like, what the hell is going on? All right. So Deck is back. And Deck, we lost Deck because of his battery, but he went and got his charger. Oh, no, it's his phone. All right. Just turn it one more time. Just put it back portrait and go back to landscape and see if it flips.
Gotcha. Let's see.
Yeah.
Is this good?
Yeah. You're good now. Thank you everyone for rocking with us. Still, I know we're a little over time, but wanted to talk about something that Greg alluded to a little earlier, which is the Dolphins and Tua. It was tank for Tua, and now the Dolphins looking at their phone like, new phone, who this? Like,
that's the whole fact.
Tua is just not their guy. And I want to bring in our Dolphin correspondent, the one and only elder statesman, Rick Etienne, to bless us with the photo, one, and two, give us his insight on these Miami Dolphins. Sir, how you doing?
Doing good, man. How y'all doing today?
Yo, shout out to you for your patience, bro. I appreciate it.
Oh, you good. I was watching, so we good, man. I felt like a VIP. It's like I'm in the green room and whatnot, you know. So
I'm liking this pink or peach shirt.
A little salmon, you know.
Salmon?
A little salmon.
I gotta say, he's going, and he's always had the teal wall.
Yeah, the colors look good together, man. Mm-hmm.
Teal wall, and he's got a little. It's salmon, but it's almost a hint of the Miami orange. It's the Miami vibe.
I gotta set the tone. Set a little bit of the tone, you know.
So your Dolphins there's rumors that the Dolphins are looking to acquire Watson, and that the Texans want nothing to do with Tua, and that it's going to be a 3-team deal if it is going to go down.
The football team came out of nowhere.
Imagine the Texans not wanting to deal with Tua. Like they have the nerve.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I know we're a joke of an organization, and we probably are going to get demoted to the CFL next year. But Tua T, not in our plan.
Have you not seen Mills?
We're gonna stick with Mills.
Yeah, run it back.
But Rick, what do you think of this? As someone that was probably on board for tank for Tua, now you got your guy and you're ready to move on from him without really giving him a test, a la Sam Darnold, with less time though. Honestly, what do you think of the situation?
Yeah, it's funny because I never thought about it until Greg just mentioned it now with the parallel with the situation we're seeing in Philly. You know, and it's very similar. You've got a coaching staff and an organization that is very non-committal on somebody who's supposed to be, you know, the future and the franchise and whatnot. But you got Tua doing whatever he can to kind of show up and ball out, you know. Remember last week, and I know Greg mentioned about the things that can happen coming out of this game in London. I remember I said in the comments, that's the type of game that gets somebody fired, you know what I mean, going into it. And I feel like the Dolphins, whether it be Chris Greer or Coach Flores, had that mindset too. And I'm of the belief that, you know, what they did on Sunday was essentially throw Tua to the wolves. They threw him under the bus because putting him out there, coming off the injury, you got him traveling international with sore ribs. You know what I'm saying? That could have went left. You know what I mean? You're playing a terrible team. You've been playing terrible yourself. So it's like, I look at it as, if this is your guy and you think he's your future, you don't play him in that game, because worst case scenario, you know, if y'all go out there and lose, it's going to be a bad look. So if you're going to go out there and lose, and it's going to be a bad look, why not put that on your backup QB who's been stinking it up anyway, you know? So going in there and putting Tua in that game, that's you saying, hey, look, you know, if we lose this thing, they're going to have somebody to point the finger at, you know, and what they're doing it to is kind of ridiculous because, again, you mentioned what's he got under his belt, legit. If you're talking full games per minutes and whatnot, I don't have the number, but I can't imagine it's any more than 9 games maybe, you know, total.
Tua, I just got the notification a couple days ago or last week. He made his first career start like a year ago.
Exactly. Yeah. And let's go back to that. Remember in the group chat, because it wasn't even the start. It was when we was blowing out the Jets. They put him in there at the tail end of the game going into.
I see what you did there. That was cute. I see what you did there.
I got you.
He's always gonna have KJ's back when it comes to the driver.
Yo, shout out to my nephew, by the way, man. Yeah.
I'm not letting him in. If he's not gonna do it, I'm not letting him in. Definitely not on this segment.
Yeah, but that was one of those things when he came into that game against the Jets. I was in the group chat telling y'all I didn't like it. Why? Because once you pull the genie out the bottle, you can't put it back in. jokes on me, they could put it back in, and they kept trying to put it back in and then putting it back out and then putting it back in, which goes to show that it was the wrong decision to begin with. You know what I mean? So right now at this point, everybody's pointing the finger at Tua because I feel like that's what the organization wants. They want to have the cop out and say, oh, well, let's move on and try to start from scratch. But they're doing him a disservice, man. There's been some terrible decisions made over the past year and a half that are coming to light right now.
Deck, I want to get your take on this. Before we get there, though, I just want to thank everyone in the chat. I know you guys have been chatting up a lot in there, and we have to move on. Yeah, we have to move on from the basketball segment, but I just want to shout you guys out. Thank you for again rocking with us and being very active in the chat. But Deck, I'd like to know what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been skeptical of Tua, and it really doesn't have much to do with his level of talent. I've always been worried about the injury bug with him. I mean, you guys have probably remembered me saying stuff like, if I was the Giants general manager, Herbert would have been the guy I looked at ahead of him, just based on, listen, I think these guys, I always thought Herbert was better, but I also thought that, hey, these guys, if it's close, the injury card is big. So that is a big thing with Tua. However, I agree with Rick is that they have been feeding him to the Wolves, and it would have been very easy to just start Jacoby Brissett against the Jags. If you lose, okay, you can blame him because, listen, you're going with your backup quarterback overseas. I know the Jags have lost 20 in a row, but that's not a game you rush Tua back, or unless maybe they were thinking it was an easy game to rush them back and to get a win. Listen, I picked the Jags. I didn't think it was going to be an easy game anyway. But the one thing I will say, and Rick, you obviously are around the Dolphins geographically, and the fact that you watch them every week, and you're essentially down there. You know the ins and outs.
Don't you have season tickets, bro?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
There you go.
Disgusting.
Exactly.
Gross.
So what's disgusting about that?
I'm just can I just hate on a Dolphins fan?
I mean,
it's because his son's a Dolphins fan.
Yeah.
Really is what it is. Truly.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
He was led astray.
But I like Brian Flores. I think he's actually a really good coach, and I think that he's one of those guys where he had a bad first season. Sure, most coaches do when you inherit a team that is tanking for a quarterback that is in college, and you're looking to lose out essentially. But that year two, I don't view it as a disappointment last year to get close to the playoffs and lose. I thought that was a team that overshot their expectations and almost made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback, which in today's NFL is very rare. But I just wanted to get Rick's take also on Flores. Do you think they're going to move on from him? If they do, I think it'll be a big mistake. But I wanted to get your gauge on the situation.
I don't think so. And I think what we're seeing in the media right now is proof of that. Again, what happened last week had to fall on somebody. So we're seeing that it's not falling on coach. It's not falling on the GM. It's falling on the QB, and again, I believe that was by design. So Flo is going to be safe as far as I'm concerned. This is the next move now. This is where if all the rumors are true or whatnot, the plan is, okay, I need to go ahead and upgrade at quarterback immediately. Let's pull the plug from now. Yeah, it could be premature, but before those fingers start turning and pointing at me, I need to figure something out. So I think he's safe for sure for now.
And Greg, what are your thoughts on this Tua situation?
So, like I said, once Tua was drafted, it seems like they were very hot and cold on him. They kind of one of my friends made a joke, said, Tua got auto drafted by the Dolphins. And that's what it
seems that way now.
Yeah. But I think while it sucks for Tua, I think if you have an opportunity to go out and get a Deshaun Watson, you absolutely have to do it. If I'm a Dolphins fan, I don't care where Tua goes.
It's an upgrade. Yeah.
Give me Deshaun Watson any day of the week.
Sorry, Greg. Go ahead.
And as far as Tua's play, I think he's been serviceable. But when you compare him to some of the quarterbacks that have been recently drafted and their play, like a Justin Herbert, a Joe Burrow, some of these guys with the big arms, I think the Dolphins are like, wait a minute, did we miss on this? And if we have a chance to go out and get Watson, let's make it happen.
I think one of the things you kind of brought up too, as far as Tua's play and whatnot, think about it. Last week, Tua played pretty good. He had the horrible interception.
Outside of that interception.
Yeah, that was a terrible interception. There's no defending that whatsoever. There was a play where it was like 3rd and short and he rolls out and he could have gotten the first down running and he decided to throw it late and it was an incomplete, ended up having a punt and whatnot. So there was a couple of really bonehead decisions, but outside of that,
Overall numbers were good.
That wasn't the type of game that you think a quarterback comes out of and, oh no, we're looking to trade you.
It's funny you said that, because what I told Steph was, even if Tua played decent, if they lost and he wasn't able to bring them back because of who they lost to, that's what was going to matter.
And remember, now that goes back to what I was saying in the chat when he got injured initially. I knew this is what was going to happen. It was a lose-lose for him immediately. You go down and you're going to miss 3 or 4 games. So it's a lose. It's a no-win situation, because either Jacoby does great and you come back and they don't want to give you your job back, or Jacoby stinks it up and you come back and they expect you to be perfect. He was bound to be ending up where we're at right now, no matter what.
I want one question before we wrap up. I just want to know from everyone here: do you think this trade happens this season? Does Tua get moved?
Yes.
I think now, again, because if it doesn't happen, the heat is going to start rising on coach and the GM. They're going to have to pull that trigger and probably make it now to save their skin.
Deck?
I'm going to say no, and here's why. I'm going to list a few reasons.
And I'll say, before you go, I will say, I hope it doesn't. I do hope it doesn't. But
you rattle with Tua.
I think
you tanked for him. Now you want him.
Exactly. If he fails over this at the end of this year, then let's talk about it. But give the kid a year. But I think he'll go. But go ahead, Dak.
Yeah. Listen, my thing all around, and I agree. Rick, Travis, myself, and you had this conversation a while ago now. I think, and you were spot on, really, about what was going to happen, whether Brissett did good or did bad. Tua was still going to find himself in a lose-lose situation. And he has exactly found himself in that way. And I did say, listen, he hasn't played a year yet. I think it's fair to give him more time. Whether or not the Dolphins feel that way will be the big question as to any trade that goes down. I don't think, I'm going to be bold and say I don't think a trade is going to happen, and here's why. I think there's too many moving parts here to successfully find a way to make everybody happy. I think right now with the whole Watson situation, still as much of a wild card as it was 3 months ago or even 6 months ago. We haven't had new information. We haven't had rumblings about him at practice, any rumblings about him going to play or cleared or anything whatsoever. That's number one. Number two is also with that is if they make this trade, they don't know when they're getting him. So that's a huge risk for a guy where, although I do think this Dolphins roster, they're 1-5, right?
Yeah.
Is that 1-5?
Dolphins 1-5. Yep.
Just confirming they're 1-5. This is not a 1-5 football team. This is a team that can definitely play. We saw it last year. This is a team that should be really a 7-10 win team, and they're just underperforming. Whether that has, Tua got hurt, so that's a big thing there. Whether that has a lot to do with him is the question. Aside from the whole Watson saga, and that's the main reason why I don't think this happens, is because that saga is so complex and unfinished that I don't think a guy like that will be moved for the package that the Texans would be willing to pull the trigger. But my other thing here is this whole Washington football team and the question of who wants Tua. The Texans want no part of Tua. That could be a mistake, whether they want to stick with Mr. 47.9 QBR or actually probably passer rating, honestly, at what Davis Mills has done. But my thing is with Washington now, Taylor Heineke, although I don't believe in him as the long-term answer, I think Heineke has shown more than Tua. Whereas right now, if I'm Washington, again, a team that not in the division race by football standards, but by mathematical standards, we don't know where they're going to go. I don't think they're going to look to go from Heineke to Tua because I don't see much gain there. Maybe potential reasons. Could that be why? Sure. But I think Riverboat Ron, if he thinks his team is going to stink with Heineke, he's going to just want to draft a QB. And I'm sorry to go super long here, but I think there's too many moving parts on these three teams to execute a deal at this time.
I think there's a case for what you're saying for sure. I don't think anyone saying whether he's going to get traded or not is the correct answer. It's more so like it's an assumption. I could definitely see him being traded just because they do not seem to care for this man at all. And it really just comes down to
free Tua.
Honestly, though, free Tua for real, though. I'd like to see him be able to ball out and have an organization that believes in him. But I do feel that if they get the right package, they will move him, right? If they feel like the pieces are right and they're getting back the right quarterback or picks that make them feel comfortable. Because at 1-5, maybe you're saying, well, you know what? All right, let's just pack it in.
Yeah.
Let's get the picks.
Let's tank for Matt Corral.
And I'll say another funny thing too. This Sunday is going to be very telling. We're back at home. We're playing a Falcons team. We can't defend the tight end, so I can already see this going to be a Kyle Pitts game. I feel like Cordell Patterson is the type of talent that is known to shred us as well. So it's going to be a tough game,
even at 32.
And and for all the jokes that are thrown Miami sports fan ways for valid reasons, a lot of front running, a lot of late showing up, a lot of blasé attitude. I can admit, I can tell you guys, folks who really, really are Dolphins fans, it's a diehard bunch, so even at that Bills game, that stadium, they showed up to really, really get behind that team. And all the way into probably most of the third quarter, they were still there behind the team before they finally gave up. It can get ugly really fast on Sunday. And I'm be curious to see when the fans turn. Who are they turning on? Because it's kind of 50-50 as far as how they feel about this situation. Because, it's like 50 on the side that's saying, yeah, let's move on from Tua. He should have never been the pick. And then the other side that's saying, nah, we riding with him. Let's give him an opportunity. We haven't done him any favors, So it's going to be very interesting to see if and when we get to that point on Sunday, when that crowd and that fan base starts to turn, who is that energy going to be focused on? I want to see if it's the front office and coaching staff or if it's Tua.
I think it'll be Tua based on something you told us about the message boards that you've been in. The fan groups seem to be turning on Tua last year.
Yeah, they were, but now one thing I'll say have the benefit is even those that same sector of fans that would be turning on Tua are still against Watson specifically. Had it been a different option when we're looking at the straight thing, it could be different. But the fact that it's specifically Watson, there's some folks that are even saying, all right, as much as I would like to move on from Tua, we're not trying to trade everything away for a guy we don't know if going to be able to play or not.
The one thing I will say before you close out, Steph, I know you're about to close out. The longer we go with no new information on Watson, I think the better it is for him.
Yeah, it's been quiet. It's been quiet, so, we'll see.
When is the court? Are they going to court? Like, when are they
Who knows what with that shiesty ass lawyer?
Yeah, man. It's like
know what, though? Deshaun Watson's lawyer is not much better. He's got a very checkered past.
I spoke on Rusty Harden also.
Who was he
way
defended?
back in the
I forget who the big
but
case.
I was more talking about I was more talking about how
Kardashian
the opposing lawyer brought everything out in the open. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 25 women who don't know each other, and they're all the same profession.
I think we can have a whole segment on rekindling that. But
we can, and there's probably going to be a reason for it when this trade happens. But that's going to do it for us. For everybody that's still here, thank you so much. For everyone that watched today and that was in the comment section, thank you again. I really appreciate you coming out Friday night. Y'all probably got plans, but from 4 to 6:04, y'all with us. So we appreciate y'all. 4:30, I should say. 4 o'clock, we were not on. But as always, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to all Hitless content on YouTube, Facebook, and IG. The handle is SportsHL. Again, that's SportsHL. Coming up, there's a Sunday show, which Rick down there is on. So if you want to get some takes for this upcoming game, maybe you're feeling like you don't know who to play on fantasy-wise. That man, you can tell he's knowledgeable, elder statesman. He knows a thing or two. You can check him out on Sunday, 12 o'clock. We're going to be back on Monday between 7 and 8 to give you our preview for the Monday night game. And Tuesday, Fan Zone. Wednesday, the Wednesday show. You all know to lock in, and we're back here again on Friday. So I hope y'all enjoy your weekend. Good luck to everybody in fantasy, basketball, and football. All right. And we'll see y'all on Monday. Have a great weekend.